Hey Twist Brigade, welcome back to another jersey unboxing. I'm coming at you here from Bend, Oregon. It is a beautiful day, and even a more beautiful day because I have a jersey to unpackage here. Now, as you can see over here to my side, I had an Ottawa Senators jersey that came in recently as well. So I unpackaged that and I recounted their jersey history in a separate video. But today, we're going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. So make sure to tune in for this because we're going to talk about some jersey history and unpackage a pretty sweet sweater, if I do say so myself. Okay, so without further ado, this is actually going to be pretty easy because I already have the package open. So, there we go. So, let's take a look at this, yeah? Looking good, looking good. So here we've got the REEBOK Premier that Tampa Bay Lightning wore, I think from 2007 till about 2010, 2011. So they eventually switched to a design that's much more like what they wear now, except on the road jerseys they had Tampa Bay above the logo, but I'll talk about that in just a little bit. And even though you can't see the C on here right now, because I believe Vincent LeCavalier was still the captain when this guy came on board, we've got Stammer right here, Steven Stamkos, number 91. And this is a jersey that I found on eBay, just from a random eBayer, not an actual store. This is not an easy jersey to find, so I was actually surprised at how much I paid for this one. I paid $100, that was the bid I had, and then with shipping it was like $108. So not cheap, but still, considering you can't really find this jersey very often, and if you do, sometimes it's in bad condition, then I think it's a pretty good pickup for me. One reason why I really like this particular Tampa Bay jersey is they've actually done a nice job combining black and blue together. It looks a lot more interesting than what they wear now, in my opinion, even if the design is a little outdated by today's standards. You even have some silver and blue here on the sleeves. I didn't even know that was supposed to be silver. And I think that having white numbers with a little bit of blue and with some silver in there as well, that's a nice contrast to the black. So the composition of this jersey, it makes it easily my favorite Tampa Bay Lightning jersey. I also have the original home jersey, or original dark jersey, that they won the Stanley Cup in 2004. That one's a blank, and I'm very happy to have Stammer on this one. It's a great addition to the collection here. You've got these classic shoulders, kind of like what they used to have with their original unis. And yeah, there's not too much more to say about this particular jersey right now. We'll get into the history momentarily, but for now, I'm gonna try this on. Looking pretty good, looking pretty good. Spin around. I certainly like this. I would like it just a little bit more if there was some blue and or some white at the bottom here. Just a little thin stripe would be perfect. But nonetheless, I can't really complain about this. It arrived in great condition. The logo looks terrific. The packaging was really nicely done. And I'm not seeing any pulls, snags, stains, anything like that. Unlike the Senators jersey that I unpackaged earlier, these are the vinyl numbers. It's not an actual custom job like the Senators one, but nonetheless, I really like this a lot. This fits very nicely. Usually I'll buy a medium if I can, but a small isn't that much smaller, honestly. So terrific jersey added to the collection here. And for Tampa, I don't really have anything else I intend to collect unless I find that rain jersey for like a really cheap deal, or if Tampa actually issues something that I like in Adidas, but that's a different story. Anyway, guys, we're gonna go ahead and now look at the jersey history of the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, so it's 1990, and Phil Esposito, the original owner of the team, announces the name of Tampa's new NHL franchise, the Lightning. That means that they're the first team in the NHL ever to not end in the letter S. Now, they were the first team to use a color scheme with black and blue together, and as the Tampa Bay Lightning's website says, it was, quote, commonly seen on the faces of old school enforcers, but never before on an NHL sweater. Their logo features what else? A bolt of lightning. And the same thing goes for the shoulders, though behind that bolt is an outline of the state of Florida.
This was a great quote from the hockey writers. Both of these busy logos have no semblance of artistic sense to them, and are better suited to the boot screen of a 90s computer game. Now, I mean, it's a little insulting to hear that at first, but I mean, come on, they do look pretty dated. They haven't aged all too kindly. There's a pretty straightforward appearance to these jerseys, but underneath the arms there are these tiny stripes that are alternating in the color scheme, and these were known as victory stripes. I don't know why the hell they were called that, but guess what? They would stick around for a while. Another really unique element to these original jerseys, they lasted all the way up until 2007, but the font changed 3 other times. So they originally went with a drop shadow font also on the actual nameplates themselves. I don't think teams had ever done that before. And they also italicized this the following season. I think they were the first team to really use a custom font instead of the typical block lettering. At least that's what I came across in the articles I read. And then they went with a more kind of tattered number and name look and arched the actual names. That was something that other teams were doing in that decade there. And then in 2001, they went with just the standard block lettering because, come on, that's easily the most legible for everybody out there. Along the way, in 1997, this is when CCM is starting to manufacture jerseys that are utilizing dye sublimation techniques. So that allows jerseys to have more complex graphics and kind of custom layouts in ways that they hadn't before. This is a very interesting story that I read online from darkbluejacket.blogspot.com. He or she is the lucky owner of this Tampa concept. Now, according to this website, quote, the story goes that the owner, and I assume that's Phil Esposito, and the director of scouting each designed a third jersey and had a set made for the team. So if I'm assuming correctly, this means that the team had to look at both of these atrocities and vote on which one was less insulting. So I don't know why the owner and the director of scouting are working on jerseys, but apparently that's what it was. Now, let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. This was the first blue jersey in the franchise history, and I could talk about the individual features of this jersey, but you're pretty familiar with it. Storm clouds, the actual little streaks of rain there, the lightning on the arms, and I think what's pretty interesting with this is that later on in 2018, when Tampa hosted the All-Star game, they had a little bit of yellow in the Atlantic Division's jerseys. Now, I think that that's kind of an homage to these 1997 abominations here. This jersey lasted up until 1999, and of course is among the most coveted sweaters for jersey collectors out there. When ranking the team's jerseys, rawcharge.com said, quote, it's like a graphic design department's word cloud of Florida came to life in wonderful 90s graphics and fonts. I thought that was so eloquent and just right on the nose. Also during that time, which was the 1997 to 98 season, the team wore a special commemorative patch of 4-leaf clover with the number 12 on it, and that was to honor John Cullen, a player on the Lightning who had to miss that season battling non-Hodgkin lymphoma. He would recover from that. A little bit later in 2001, as I mentioned earlier, the team refined the lettering on their typical jerseys to a conventional block lettering, and with this jersey, the team won its first Stanley Cup in 2004 against the Calgary Flames. Yeah, we know, quite a controversial series, but a very good one nonetheless. A couple of years later, it's 2007, the start of the Reebok Edge era, and like other teams out there, the Lightning decided to actually kind of retool their brand, so they came up with a more modernized logo with just the Tampa Bay font, no more lightning, and it's a much more kind of aggressive looking bolt. And with these jerseys, they went with kind of a simple torso to the jersey, really. So straightforward black with some white and blue striping, adding a little bit of gray in there. They still kept the victory stripes underneath the arms there, and this jersey layout was very similar to what the Senators and Penguins used in that era. They also added numbers to the front of the jersey, and that's something that teams like the Sabres, Sharks, and Stars would do with the Reebok Edge era. The next year, 2008, Reebok says that teams can now issue alternate jerseys, and so Tampa unveils this Bolts jersey. So you've got the typical Reebok Edge piping along the sides of the jersey there. You've got Tampa Bay on the tail striping, but on the back of the jersey. We had seen some teams do it on the front there. Some more conventional striping there, so differing from what they wore at home and away typically. And the main crest moved to the shoulders, and later that was updated to what the current logo is right now for the team. I don't know if this is by coincidence, but this was the same year that the Senators issued the Sens jersey. So in 2011, the team rebranded under new ownership, so now blue was going to be the primary color there. The overall design and look of Tampa would simplify quite a bit. As a lot of you out there can tell, the jersey design is very similar to what the Red Wings are using, of course in the colors of Toronto. Black was pretty much stripped away entirely except for outlining on the numbers. They got rid of the numbers on the front. They actually added laces to the collar. They also added a new circular shoulder logo. And they included Tampa Bay on the road jersey, but not on the home jersey. And as you probably know, this template has stayed mostly the same up through now. A couple of years later in 2014, they introduced yet another Bolts jersey, this time in black, to complement the blue home jersey. It's a very stripped down design. A lot of people say that it's basically a copycat of the Kings. You got that, of course, white piping along the sleeves there, kind of like the Columbus Blue Jackets as well. And then you've got a little bit of blue cuffs there too. Then in 2017, the Lightning, like everybody else, transitioned into the Adidas era, but didn't really make any big changes. On the road jersey, they took the words Tampa Bay out, so it was just the Bolt. No more laces on the crest, and that's about it. Then for the 2018-19 season, Adidas said that teams could produce alternate jerseys, and it took a while for Tampa to get theirs out, I will say. Now the marketing department was trying to collect some fan input and wanted to get a sense of what a younger demographic might particularly go for. And while we waited for these jerseys to come out, there was a bit of a prank that was played on the players, as you can see here. This phony design was introduced to them, and I kind of wish I could have seen that on the ice, because at least that would be a little bit more interesting than what was to come. So we had to wait until February 7th. That's kind of close to the end of the regular season, you know, when other teams were already playing with their alternate jerseys, and we got these Storm jerseys, or whatever you want to call them here. Probably the big highlight with these, of course, is the sublimated design along the sleeves, kind of creating like a rainstorm down the sleeves, transitioning from black to gray. And also the stylizing in the numbers is pretty intriguing. You also have the stealth shoulder patches there. So the same ones they wear on the home and away jerseys, just grayed out. All that looks pretty good, but considering there isn't really any color to this jersey, it does look still a little bit bland. But nonetheless, it's still been fairly successful in merchandising sales.
Okay friends, well that's going to do it for this video. Down in the comments below, let me know what your favorite Tampa jersey is of all time, and stick around because there are always jersey unboxings coming up on this channel. I've got a couple more to speak of when I come back to California. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you around for another video. Thanks so much for watching everybody, stay safe, I'll see you again soon.